and welcome to the Road to Worlds Regional Rundown. I'm your host, Daniel Madison. As always, we are looking over the most recent Trek CC regional events for 2014 for this season, and we are previewing events that are coming up this week. With me, as always, is my co-host, Greg Dillon. How's it going, Greg?
I'm very good.
And our guest this week, from ridiculously early in the morning, is Niall Matthew. Executioner on the forums. Neil, how's it going?
I'm awake.
I'm surprised that you're awake, but
Oh no, I keep my reputation as a non-stop sexual night party animal, so you're lucky I'm not having it here just now.
what you drinking there, Neil?
A very strong coffee. I've got work in 3.5 hours, so
Oh God. Well, we appreciate you being on the show. So we'll try not to hold you up too long. We'll get right to the events. We had last weekend was probably our biggest weekend on the schedule as far as the sheer number of events that were scheduled, and not all of them actually took place, but still quite a few of them to talk about. The first one that I'd like to talk about is we actually have a late Week 7 result, or at least a delayed event that actually ended up taking place last weekend, and this was in Austria, where we did not have any results for the event in time to do our show last week, and I guess they ended up running it a week later. So the 1E OTF event in Austria, that did finally take place, and they had 5 players, and not surprisingly, the winner of the event was Stefan Slaby, who is, of course, the world champion. So congrats to Stefan. Stefan was running a Cardassian Federation deck, and Greg did a little look at this one, and of course this is also his deck list, and some commentary about the deck is of course posted in the great article series that's being kept up by Lucas Thompson. So if that's on the site, that went up yesterday. So if you haven't seen that article, go check that out. There's a lot of good stuff in there. Sorry, I was taking a look in chat where Neil is already hard at work at I don't know what you're doing. You're taunting the people in chat, Neil.
never, never, never.
So so that's Austria. So Stefan, of course, is the world champion. He does not actually. He already has a built-in buy for European regionals. So for this event, the buy will get handed down to second place. And the second place finisher for the event was Julius Melhart. So he will be earning a buy. So congratulations to him as well. It looks like he was running a Bajoran Federation build.
Probably.
Yeah, there's no deck list, but I assume it's Bajoran Resistance with probably TNG, maybe DS9,
Maybe Enterprise E.
maybe
We've
Enterprise.
seen, we've seen some of that already.
Obviously.
I don't know. Yeah.
I'd say.
Sorry, what was that, Neil?
Or it could have been Office of the President in the original series. I think that was a big winner earlier on this year, was it?
Yeah, absolutely. That's Richard's deck, which Richard DeLashmit that won Canadian Nationals, and that one's been making the rounds. Yeah, so any number of possibilities on that, but yeah, probably resistant cell. I'm sure that was a major component of the deck. It's seems a bit good. Uh, yeah. Um, let's move on. We had an event in Australia, in New South Wales. I think this was Sydney,
Yep.
if I'm getting my Australian events, I'm not getting them mixed up. This was a 1E OTF event as well. Uh, 4 players turned out for this event, and the winner was Ben Wynn. So congratulations to him. Ben was playing a Bajoran deck, according to the tournament results page. But what really surprises me is the second place showing, which not who's in it, but what affiliation is listed, as Steve Hartman was playing a KCA deck.
Yeah.
Yeah, so not a little surprised to see KCA come in second, but hey, well done.
Get that ranking in one as
um,
well.
yeah. I'm sure it was a round robin, being only 4 players, so he would have had to have played all 3 other decks, so it had to have probably won 2 of those games. Um, looking down the list, there was another event scheduled in Western Australia, a 1E event, and it looks like this one has been postponed. We do not yet have a makeup date for that event, but hopefully it will get rescheduled and we'll be able to talk about it later in the season. There was an event in Germany. Seems like we have an event in Germany every week. This one was a 1E event. Another 1E OTF constructed, and 6 players turned out for this one. And the winner was another Stefan. This is Stefan, who is known as Moog Son of Worf on the forums. And he was playing a Hirogen non-aligned deck, so pretty straightforward, powerful Delta Quadrant tech. And a lot of blue underneath him. 3 other Fed decks rounding out the top 4, and then a Starfleet deck and another Hirogen deck rounding out the list on that one. But congrats to Stefan for earning the bye in that event.
Some very good players in that tournament.
Oh
Yeah, I
yeah,
was
oh yeah,
surprised
definitely.
Johannes and Andreas didn't do better.
Yeah, well, we did talk about this one quite a bit last week. Basically, I think we discussed everybody that made it into the top 4 in this event, and it was generally agreed that like any one of them could have taken this event. There were a lot of great players.
It could have been anyone. My prediction would have been Ludwig, Peter Ludwig, to come second. But for first place, it could have been any of the other 3.
Oh sure, oh sure, yeah. Um, Stefan did not have a bye yet, so he will earn a bye for this event for European Continentals. So once again, congratulations to him. We had, and it did finally take place, we had an event in South Africa. Really cool, yeah. Our first Trek CC regional in South Africa. Unfortunately, they did not have a continent to connect it to. There's no buy. We need to fix this. There's no buy listed under buy winners because there is no African continentals. But yeah, the event did take place. They had 5 players. It was a 2E standard event, and the winner was actually the tournament director, Fritz Meissner. So congratulations to him. Fritz was playing a Bajoran build. Looks like it was a pretty diverse group of decks. Actually, there was a TNG coming in second. TNG looked like it. Looking at the tournament results, the TNG deck looked like something that was borrowed or modified from another deck going around the net. And yeah, Romulan deck coming in third, and then a Starfleet and a Relativity. So a little bit of everything.
Yeah, Fritz has
So
a good tournament report, and he explains in there that he built most of the decks himself for his players because he's getting them back in the game, and he just net decks most of them.
sure. Well, hey, that's great. If you know that got them out there and got them to play a regional. So good to hear, and hoping to see that continue. There were 2 events scheduled in Canada. Winnipeg, I think they were. Those events were postponed. So again, do not yet have a makeup date for those events, but those did not happen this week. And if they get rescheduled, then we'll talk about them a little later on. We had a Massachusetts event, and this was a 2E standard event. It drew 6 players, and I think this was the one that I picked Len to win, and he did not. The winner for this event was Chris O'Connell, who was running Romulans.
Yeah, everyone picked Len to win this one, and he only came fourth, and he made top 3, so that was surprising. Chris, again, another good tournament report from Lucas Thompson. Apparently, Chris's deck is basically the same as Stefan Slavi's from Worlds last year.
Yep.
And I was also looking through these deck lists, and a lot of Tragic Turn, like top 3 all use Tragic Turn in this regional.
A lot of kill piles then going on. That Romulan deck is very, very strong. It's I've played against a similar version once or twice, and it's a little slow out the gate, but once all the pieces are in place, it just rolls through. It's a very tough deck. But Chris O'Connell is the winner, and he receives a bye into North American Continentals for 2E. Steve C took second place, running a TOS deck. And then rounding out the list, we had Klingon, Cardassian, Voyager, and Terragnor. So another good mix of affiliations in that event. And more TOS making the top 2. We'll talk about that a little bit more a little further down. We had I'm going to move on to Washington. Out in the Seattle area, we had a full slate of events happening. 2E, Tribbles, 1E, and starting with, these are all unusual formats too. The 2E was, or at least unusual for regionals. 2E was an infinite diversity draft, and this had 6 players show up, and Ken Tufts was the winner. He drafted, looks like straight Maquis for this event. And
the headquarters says Maquis, but as he posted in the regional thread, it's only Federation Treasury Eagle. There are actually no Maquis in the deck.
Right, so he just had the headquarters and...
Just had the headquarters, yeah.
Yeah.
And then a bunch of non-lined up as well.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, looking at the list, it looks like there were 2 other players that were running the Maquis headquarters. So I don't know if it was something maybe he went for that for an achievement, or possibly he just wasn't finding anybody if the other 2 players were drafting all the Maquis. But I have a feeling it was for achievement.
I'm not really sure. I don't play ID a lot, but I think I remember when I did do the marquee one. They're mostly um, the Indians, the native Indian Americans, and they're not really that great in my opinion. Unless
Yeah,
you have all of them together with their events, they're not great in just to splash in decks.
yeah. There aren't too many of them that are virtual format and come up in the draft pools. Other than the ones from that set, there's just not a whole lot of them. Um, but yeah, so Ken is the winner. Jules Chen took second, running Bajoran and Cardassian, and as Ken is the Canadian national champion, he already has a bye for 2E Continentals, so this bye will be handed down to Jules. So congratulations. Um, they played Tribbles in Washington after they played 2E. This was it was the not the same 6 players. Looks like they lost one, and then Jay, who was the TD, jumped in so that they still had 6. And Richard DeLashmet was the winner for Tribbles, which is his first Tribbles regional win for the year. So he gets the head start into Continentals. And then wrapping it up, they played 1E. They played what was listed on the site as Open DS9 Sealed Deck, but what was actually it was Emissary starters with DS9 booster packs, and then some support cards thrown in. So everybody had pretty much Bajoran or Cardassian, and there was some Feds sprinkled in. They had 5 players for this event, and the top 3 were all straight Cardassian, and Ken Tufts won this one as well. And surprisingly, Ken did not already have a first edition buy for Continentals, which I was a little surprised by. But he has one now. Oh, this has been his year for 2E and Tribbles, but it's been Richard's year in that region for first edition, I think, because he won Canadian Nationals and then he already won a regional out there. So, but yeah, so this is Ken's first 1E regional win, and that will earn him the bye for Continentals. We had a couple of events in Georgia, and these were, we talked to Ryan Sutton last week about these events pretty extensively, and they started with 2E, which had a very good turnout. They had 14 players. I believe this is the second highest regional turnout so far this year. I think just second to the Chicago area one with 16. And the winner for this event was Greg Hodgen. So congratulations to Greg. Greg was also piloting Romulans this week.
Yeah, it also looked like a similar deck to Stefan's, just a bunch of it's the normal Romulan events and bonus points.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very strong affiliation this week, and a lot different from what we've been seeing in the previous weeks. We're not seeing a lot of the same affiliations that have been winning previously, making it into the top spot. Second place for the event was Scott Bauman. He was running Starfleet. And this is an event where, because of the large number of players, there were 2 buys awarded, and Greg already has one, as he was the American Nationals winner for the year. So this is going to trickle down to second and third place. So Scott Bauman will receive a bye, handed down, and also Nick Bradingham. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but he takes third place, and he receives a bye as well. And he did not have a deck list posted or an affiliation identified, so I'm not sure what he was playing.
Yeah, this is another event where
a lot of deck lists.
Yeah, this is another event
Sorry, go
where
ahead.
there's good tournament reports to read, even though there's not a lot of deck that's posted yet. But there's good tournament reports, like especially in Greg's. He mentions that he added some tech specifically for TOS Battle, which he ended up facing in the last game, and basically it won him the tournament with mid-air pitch street.
Yeah, and I looking at this list of players. I think a lot of the players are locals too, so they might not be on the site as much or get around to getting their deck list posted. So that's probably what's going on there. But, most of the top spots did at least have had their deck lists in. So did see a TOS deck in 4th place, a DS9 deck in 6th place. That was Kevin Reitzel's. Another Romulan one in there. But beyond that, they haven't all been uploaded. But anyway, yeah, congratulations to Greg and to Scott and Nick for earning buys for that event. They played 1E. And yeah, I should mention, I think Kevin even had a tournament report, or I read a little bit about, I don't know if it was a report or if it was just something in the forums where he talked a little bit about these events. But he did say that because of the large number of players, that these events ended up taking a little bit longer to play out, and they ended up just canceling the Tribbles event. So there's one result. There's one result in for you. The Tribbles event did not take place, and it was canceled. Sorry, we didn't have Chris here to call that it was not going to sanction. Not going to happen, but yeah, it did not happen. But yeah, let's look at 1E. This was a block event, and 10 players made it for 1E, and the winner was Ryan Sutton. I actually predicted correctly on that. Ryan took the victory with a TNG Klingon deck. I talked to him. We both talked to him. We talked. Sorry?
Oh, I'm just loading up the deck just now to see whether it was legit or illegit. Good Klingons or bad Klingons?
I believe it was legit. He talked to Greg and I a little bit after the show last week and talked about what he'd be running, and it was a battle deck. Pretty
Yeah.
simple. The idea was to spam out ships and leaders as quickly as possible.
Yeah, half the deck.
And just go blow stuff up.
Yeah. Boom, boom, boom.
Oh yeah. But yeah, we discussed it a little bit. Like I said, after the show, TNG Klingons still pretty good after, even after the errata to continuing mission, the errata to attention all hands, because Klingons still have a mobile reporting card with legitimate leader. They can still report to Gowron, which is a big help. And I think Ryan ran a couple copies of Gowron just in case anything happened. But also, I don't think he really put too much thought into making sure he had a mobile ship. He was just getting a ship out and a leader and just sending them off.
I think he's
Yeah, it also
one.
helps. Yeah, he's only got one Gowron, which he must have been using his first turn card pay to download. But yeah, Clowns also help that they have an extra ship down it as well. So you got the park as well as just a universal one with rotational hands.
Sure. Yeah, yeah. Also, big help. Of course, I don't think he had any issue drawing into ships, but but yeah, that certainly helps. Yeah, it's certainly a good way to get a couple of them out early, in case you do have issues drawing into them.
Yeah, it's
Um,
definitely like thing on block these days. It's definitely battle orientated because obviously the Basalt and Seagoth and Dokar being culled a little bit, it's more difficult to get the more diverse skills out a lot quicker.
yeah, the nerfs to them as well, making them unique. That you can't spam out as many copies of them to just plow through missions. So yeah, certainly that does not cripple them, but it does certainly weaken them as a solver strategy. So
Yeah, I do miss my army of the Psalms and Seagoths with tricorders and it's busted through scientific combos like that.
drawing you 3 cards a turn, and yeah,
Oh yeah, those were the days.
yeah. Well, yeah, I think so. I guess the strategy now, if you're running TNG Klingons, is to shoot first and solve later. At least if you're playing it in block.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it worked for Ryan. Again, this is not an event that has a lot of deck lists posted yet. Maybe we'll see a little bit more down the line. Um, Again, this is an event where the bye is going to get handed down. Ryan has already won a 1E regional this year, so he does not need a bye. And Scott Bauman coming in second. He is he won American Nationals this year, so he doesn't need a bye either. So this one's going to trickle down to third place, which means Nathan Miracle, Gooey Chewy, uh, receives the bye for this event.
Is there 2 buys for this event, or do you have to have more than 10 players to get the second buy?
It has to be more than 10. You have to have at least 11.
Okay.
So just Nathan earning it for this one, which I think gives him one of each now, because I think he won a 2E regional already.
Yeah, he did with a Romulan deck.
Yeah. So congratulations to him. So that just leaves my events to talk about.
Oh, sorry, I'll be back in a second.
What was that?
I'll be back.
He's going to be back in a sec.
Oh, sure, no problem. We'll talk about 2E till he comes back. So yeah, that just leaves my events here in Florida, and we ran again the full slate. We started with 2E and triples on Saturday, and then we played 1E on Sunday. And I've had a couple people write to me after the weekend was over and ask me what the heck happened with 1E, and I'll get to that. First, I'm going to talk about 2E. 2E, we had 6 players make it out, and Thomas Kimura won this event. TK, he was running a TOS battle deck, which it pretty much did what it was supposed to do. It blew up ships and ran a pretty consistent kill pile, and not a consume pile, but a kill pile. And yeah, it ended with a lot of us kind of just smashing our heads against the wall, just running people into things, and lots of death. I think I came closest to beating him, or I came closest to getting anything going against him. We had no score almost the entire game, and we had no score when time was called. And he went first, and it was his turn, so he had to finish his turn and then play my turn. And he solved 2 missions on his last turn, and he had like 65 points, I think. And then I finally he was running a lot of he was running stuff like Strip Down and TOS McCoy to move dilemmas out of the way after I hit them. So I would either face them again or they would get moved off to another mission. So I kept hitting the same dilemmas at the same mission over and over. And on my last turn, I finally got through a mission, and I think it was 35 points. And then I went off to TCS, to Transport Crash Survivors, because he had moved 4 dilemmas under it. So I was hoping to get a solve out on that mission, but I did not manage to get it in. So I was hoping to at least go for the tie at that point, and did not happen. So I at least held him to a modified win, and that was as close as anybody got. I was also playing a TOS deck. Mine was the medical Aid Legendary Civilization deck that I've played before. I played it at Gen Con last year for day 1, and I played it at the Orlando regional last year. So I, not just against him, but like against everybody, I was struggling a bit with it this time out. I'm not sure what I was doing wrong. Maybe it's just I hadn't played it in a while, and I don't know. I didn't feel as used to it as I had other times that I played it. But congrats to TK. He already won a regional in Orlando, so I actually ended up with the bye handed down. We had a Terok Nordek, Dominion, TNG, and Relativity rounding it out. So more victories and second place finishes for TOS, which has been, although 2 very different decks at our event, but TOS overall is probably the most dominant. According to the scorecard, it's the most dominant affiliation in the regional season so far.
Yeah, like you just said, there's 2 different decks, and that's basically why TOS is dominating. It's because they have so many options. Like, you could do 2 mission wins, 3 mission wins, battle, and then they just have answers to everything else as well with the upgraded personnel. Crazy.
Certainly, yeah. Yeah, and that was one thing that I was hoping I would have going for me, is like, because they could tech against different strategies using their personnel. Like one of my favorite personnel in that suite is Helen Knoll, who could look through a dilemma pile and pull out non-skill dilemmas and remove them from the game. And I was hoping that would do well in my game against TK, but it only managed to hit 1 dilemma, which was a necessary execution, so that was nice, but he was running 3 copies of it.
Yeah, I don't know, with his TOS battle deck, maybe if you did something similar to Greg did in his regional and bring Mediate Peace Treaty so you could go space first, would have worked out better. So yeah, it's all about the teching.
Yeah, certainly, and it also wasn't the deck I was expecting him to bring. The teching did serve me well in my game against Sean O'Reilly, because he was playing Dominion. It was entirely Jem'Hadar build, and I know he had a lot of capture going on, and I was able to run number 1 to retrieve some of my people after they had been brigged. So that's the good thing about TOS, is that they have a lot of different answers, and keep people back if you're expecting a certain strategy. You can keep people back and play them upgraded, or if you're not expecting to see that, then just play them on the cheap and solve some missions. So that was 2E. Neil says that the podcast is frozen.
He does look frozen. He's not moving.
He looks frozen. Well, we are still going. Can people in chat still hear us? It says that we're still live.
Yeah, we're fine.
Okay, looks like they can. All right, so it's just Neil that's frozen. Still have a moment before we get to 1E stuff. So, we played some tribbles after 2E. We had a couple extra players come in for tribbles, so we had 8, and Neil has dropped off the call. Hopefully he comes back. Yeah, we had 8 for tribbles, and the winner for this one was Sean O'Reilly. This was with 8. We did 2 pods of 4 and played a couple games that way. And Sean, it was Sean and myself and my daughter Avery and my girlfriend Allison in her second triples appearance that we made the top table, and Sean was able to win the event. Incidentally, I'll throw this out here because I know he'll want it to be mentioned. My son Ian deliberately did not make the top table and chose to stop scoring points in the first round of play after he got his score to all ones, to a 1-1-1-1-1-1, so that he could earn that. He could earn that achievement. He wasn't trying to, and he just kind of stumbled into it and decided to hang on to it.
Yeah, actually, I actually picked this regional right. I got triples prediction right. Yeah, the hard ones. So that's worth more than 2E and 1E, I think.
Yeah, you did get that one. I now that I think of it, yeah, you did pick Sean on that. That's a good call. Certainly, yeah, one that could have gone anywhere. I said that I wanted to pick my daughter, and I ended up not picking her. She actually did very well. She won her pod in the first round. She scored something like 860,000, some ridiculous number. But yeah, just managed third place when we made it into the top table. So that would have been an impressive regional win. My daughter is 7, so I think that would have been some sort of age record. She's won events before, but I think that would be like the youngest regional title, perhaps. I don't know. I haven't done all the research. And Neil is coming back to us. Hello, Neil.
Hi! I'm back!
Hi, Neil.
What did I miss?
It's alright, you didn't miss much.
Did I miss a drunken session, an orgy, drunks? I don't do drugs, by the way.
No, we were waiting for you.
Okay,
We were waiting for you.
Now we can move on to 1E.
No, we were just talking. They're talking, yeah. Patty says that we were talking smack about you. Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah. Wait till I see them. It's Saturday.
Oh, yeah, we'll get to that event. That's our big finale here. So yeah, we talked about 2E and tribbles. I have to explain what happened with 1E. Because
your deck right now.
Well, yeah, Neil has a good idea of probably what happened, but no, it takes a little more explanation than that. I was expecting TK to come back the next day, and he couldn't make it. And I had one other player that found out he couldn't make it at the last minute, and so we were actually left with 3. Um, so we were considering canceling or postponing this one, and uh, my friend Tammy, who plays in all our events, her daughter Alex is playing Tribbles and is starting out with 2E. She's still learning, but has never played 1E. She's I want to say she's 13. Um, but she's playing a little bit of 2E, hasn't really got it down, but hasn't played 1E at all. Doesn't know a thing about it, but we decided to kind of throw her to the wolves and hey, can you fill in and be the 4th just so that we can run a tournament? And so she did. I had a deck built that I was going to have my son play if he was going to make it, but he didn't end up making it. So I gave her that one, and it was something that we net decked from I think it was Jules Chen that originally built it. It's a TNG fed deck that runs a lot of mission specialists, and basically it gets people out very fast and goes for a 2-mission win. So that was the idea behind it. But we didn't have time to really explain to her how everything worked. So like, we couldn't teach her. She didn't even know how to play, so we couldn't teach her tricks like, hey, you need to nanoprobe your assigned mission specialist back into play and go download things from your queue set. It was more like, hey, free play this, draw, free play this, card play this, go solve something. Go throw some people and see what happens. So that's sort of all the tech that she got. As far as what I was playing, again, I was expecting TK to show up, and my solver decks just don't generally work well against his dilemmas. And I've had issues with playing 1E at a higher level, so I decided to try a Borg deck, which Neil helped teach me how to play a few months ago, and I ran it once, and I did all right with it. And
a lot of those tricks do look familiar.
Sorry?
A lot of the tricks do look familiar.
Yeah, it does have a lot of tricks. It has a lot of moving pieces, and I don't really know them all, but I'm starting to get used to it. My problem is that I'm still very slow at it.
Yeah,
and
the boards are very sequential. You've got fixed things to do in the first 3 turns, get everything set up, and then after that, it's basically just no pun intended, adapting to what the opponent's doing, trying to assimilate them or run away from them.
Sure.
Go for the objectives.
So what ended up happening is you got to understand what the other decks were that made it to this event. So I was running Borg, which is a very slow deck, and Sean O'Reilly came playing Dominion, which is another very slow deck, and my friend Tammy showed up with a Bajoran solver, which not a very slow deck, but she decided she wanted to make it a slow deck. She said that she set out to build the most annoying deck ever, and that was what she titled it. So she decided, rather than focus on solving, she decided to play Tribbles, and she ran Q flashes, and she sat back at her station and played Davo and just screwed with her opponents.
I think Paddy would agree that's the kind of deck that Peter Ludwig from Germany would do. He's also known as Ensign Stiffless in Aberdeen.
Yeah.
But we can speak about that later on. I think Paddy got a question earlier on in the forum, so
Well,
answer it later.
so my first opponent was Sean. So it was the Borg versus the Dominion, and I got a little worried because I was building up my forces, but he was also building up his forces. It was kind of scary on both sides. Like, I had my strength drones, and I had I had some weapon enhancements going on, and some shield drones. But he also had uh, a bunch of weapon enhancements to his battleships, and he had a whole bunch of hand weapons coming in, and so I think we both got a little intimidated. It was kind of like, it's going to be bloody if I go after him, and it's going to be bloody if he goes after me. And so we both just kind of stayed away from each other, building up forces. Toward the end of it, finally decided to try to go after a mission or something, and I failed 2 probes in a row, which almost never happens when I'm playing that deck, but I failed 2 probes in a row, and we ended up with no score.
0-0 to start.
0-0, yep. Insane. So the next game, I won. I beat Tammy with a modified win. My Borg refused to be intimidated by her tribbles. But Sean beat Alex with a full win by coming in fast and blowing up her outpost. So, no, not her outpost. He blew up her ship. I think he just blew up her ship, and she didn't have. She only had 2 ships in the deck, so yeah. Yeah, he just dominated that game. I think she might have solved 1 mission in that one, but he ended up with a full win. So he was 1 victory point ahead of me going into the last round. So I had to play Alex in the last round because it was round robin, and Sean had to play Tammy. And after seeing his Dominion deck, I was convinced that he had it in the bag. And I was tired. I didn't feel like setting up the Borg deck all over again. Plus, I was babysitting kids at the time as well. I had kids over here, so just kind of drained by everything at once. And so I decided to drop for the last round. I'm like, Sean's got this anyway. He's a point ahead of me anyway. Even if I win this, he's going to win. He's going to take this event. So I dropped. Which gave Alex a bye, and then Sean lost. And he lost because it was a very slow deck running against a very slow stalling deck. And he couldn't get out there in time and never scored any points. And Tammy scored 20 points through Dabo. And 20-0 was the final. Like, I think he managed to get out there and either damage or destroy Deep Space Nine. He did that, but he just didn't get any missions done. So that didn't go like I thought it would. And when the smoke cleared, that meant that Alex had the most victory points, and so she won the regional with a 1-1 and a bye.
Go girl!
So, hey, good for her. So, yeah, Alex Taylor, she won our 1E regional. So after that long-winded description, it was just a strange series of events, but it. Hey, good for her. That's fantastic. uh, hopefully maybe that keeps her playing 1E. So we'll leave it at that.
Helps for a newbie.
Yeah. Hey, can't go much better, right? So that very strange story wraps up our week 8 events. And so we're going to look ahead to this weekend. We've only got 2 events on the schedule for this weekend. And Neil is in one of them. And I'm sure he's chomping at the bit to talk about it. But first, we've got one event in Germany. Seriously, I feel like I'm saying this every week. Hey, there's an event in Germany this week. Germany is either a very large place or just has a lot of playgroups.
I think it's both. It's quite large. Yeah.
Well, the event this week is a 2E standard constructed event. Once again, this is the Vandros 4 region, and the TD for this is Ulf Benjis. I'm probably getting that wrong. And so far, only 2... What was that? Were you giving that a go?
In Germany, you always start with Das. If they live in Germany, you always start their name with Das, like Das.
Das.
Oh, sure.
Das.
Yeah. Yeah, and that led to the rash of Das before all the deck lists at Worlds last year. Yeah.
There's a lot of Das Kapla being screamed at Worlds.
Yeah. Das this and Das that. Yeah, I saw that. Well, yeah.
Americans say it. Das. I love it.
Anyway, only 2 players are pre-registered so far, or at least at the time I checked, which was this morning. TD himself and Tobias Rausman is also registered, and he won last year's regionals in this area.
Yeah, he won last year. Only 4 players last year, and the year before that wasn't played, so I don't think this playgroup's too large. So I think unless another big player like not Tobias, Johannes or Thomas Schneider makes the trip out, I think Tobias is easily going to win this one.
Yeah, I have to agree. Tobias has an 1800 plus rating. So yeah, I think you're right. Unless we see somebody like Johannes or one of the other German players from around the country, the country does have a lot of strong players, but maybe not in that particular region. So yeah, I think it's going to be Tobias. That's my pick as well.
I'm gonna go for the underdog and go for Dastor. He's going to win with
All right, fair enough. So that's going to bring us to the Omarion Nebula Regional, and one I'm sure Neil is excited about. This is in the United Kingdom. This is a 1E OTF constructed event. Danny Nuttall is the TD for this event. I believe you guys are back at Fanboy 3 for this one, right?
Back at Fanboy 3 for, I think it's the second year in a row, but due to commitments with family, as I joining us or directing the tournament, it's going to be passed over to Paddy, i.e. Kazon Pad, on the thread.
Oh, Patty's going to be running it?
Sorry?
You said Patty's going to be running it?
Yeah, Paddy's the tournament director now because Danny can't make it due to having another baby and exam time.
Well, that's a good reason. That's a good reason. Well, that does change everything as far as possible predictions if Danny's not going to be there.
It certainly does. My prediction would have been Danny straight on, but
yeah. Well, I mean, you can't really argue he's a 3-time UK Nationals champion and runner-up at Worlds. So
the man's not equal. Everything that I've learned to improve my game, I've learned.
Yeah, definitely.
So.
I think he's upped a lot of players' games in that area.
Oh yeah, I think I've only ever beaten him twice. One of them was a timed win in OTSC Sealed. The other time was the double deck out in regionals 2 years ago in a block format. So I still need to beat him fair and square in OTF, but I don't know if that'll happen anytime soon. He's almost worked to stack ahead.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe you need to put something in his drink. No.
Jaeger? You'll know what I mean. He has a bad experience. He was on bottles of Jaeger and passing it about while people are driving Dodgems, and then the next thing you know, he's on a bench. And he went missing for an hour, and then he's on a bench, just spewing his guts out in the ground in the middle of this Star Trek convention.
So far, you've got 5 players that are pre-registered for this event. Are you expecting many more than that?
So, I think it might just be 5 for this one. So, unfortunately, there's going to be some buys in there for people.
Well, looking at it, obviously Patty and you are going to be there, and I see Stuart Marsh is also pre-registered, and he's a very good player. He's
Too much.
Yeah.
I like to
he plays some interesting decks.
He plays interfering decks. I like to think of them as the molester. You know, the molester. He likes to interfere with your deck in a really inappropriate way with capturing and conquering. You know, like I don't know. Think of him as like the priest to the opponent's fireboy. You know, it's really wrong what he does. And you're in a game, so we've got this. We have this running joke in the UK. Whenever Stu's at a tournament, you know, we'll always. And what we mean by Stu side deck is like whenever he's at a tournament, you know, we've always got to make sure that we have transport dimmers, plenty of armors just to stop them from being on their ships and like capturing all of our personnel.
So yeah, you got to tech against him. Huh? Yeah,
I think in head-to-head record, I think we're neck like in our win or loss, give or take one game.
Fair enough. So could be quite a battle going on this weekend.
It's a tricky one to predict, this one. I mean, I'm not going to count myself. It seems that egotistical, even though I'm aiming to race. Yeah, between Stu Marsh and Paddy, it's tough because they're both really good players. Stu Marsh is more interfering, Paddy's more solving, so it depends on what defences Paddy takes with him. You know, if Paddy takes a couple of transport hitters, then I'd say Paddy. But then again, look at the fourth one down there, Stephen Rich.
Yep.
I was down at one of his tournaments the other week, and he's getting back into the game now, and we're doing a couple of play tests. I was testing the world's deck, and he was testing the deck that he was thinking about bringing to here. So if he brings the deck that I've tested against, I know how it works, but I've shown him how it works properly, so if I've shown him it properly, then he could be the underdog that takes the win.
Yeah, sounds interesting. Could be quite a fight. Well, you did win, like you mentioned, you did win a regional there 2 years ago. You said that was a block event?
Yeah, it was a block event. The decider was the final round between.
I think that we lost you. He's talking, but nothing's coming out.
Yeah, no, yeah, I can see him moving. He's talking, but I think you both pretty much said it all. Like Paddy, Stu, Neil are going to be fighting it out for the win here. I was just looking at head-to-heads, and Paddy actually has the better record against Stewart, but not against Neil.
Yeah.
So I don't. I
Paddy
reckon
has the
that,
rating edge.
I reckon that they'll all beat each other. Like Paddy will beat Stu, Stu will beat Neil, and then Neil will beat Paddy. So it'll probably come. I reckon it'll come down to differential. It'll come down to differential, and I think Paddy will win after differential.
All right. Sorry, Neil. I don't have you on mute, but I still can't hear you. I don't know what happened to your sound there. But he laughed at that, so I think he can hear us. Well, I think he's waving at us for some reason.
Well, he can't talk, so.
I think he's gonna play charades with us now. 5 words. No. I still gotta get my thoughts in. With Danny not there, I think you're right. It's possibly anybody's game. I think if Paddy is bringing a solver deck, we've seen some very fast solver decks this season so far, and I think that seems to be where 1E is trending right now. So, and having just played an interaction deck and not had a pleasant experience with it, and I'm gonna go with Paddy. I'll agree with Greg on this one. I think it's Paddy's turn to take a regional, and I think Neil is back with us.
Okay, so can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Awesome. Okay, so the both of you have said Paddy's. I'm just going to. Oh, hold on. He said, just messaged on the board. I need to beat Neil. I'm unbeaten against him in 3 consecutive nationals. So for that, I'm going to go for Stu.
You're changing your pick.
But yeah, my deck. A little preview of my deck, a little hint of what's to come. It's a variation on the deck that I am definitely going to take to Worlds. It's it's
Well, that'll give us a little preview of what you're taking to Worlds, then, wouldn't it?
I think his sound's going again.
He lost his sound again. Hey, good to hear that he's going to Worlds, though. Coming across the pond.
Yeah, I'd like to. I wonder if anyone else has gone from over there. Like if Danny could come across, go up against Ken again.
I know Danny has talked about it, but given that like Neil just said that his family is increasing, he might not be able to make that work this year. I know he's talked about it in the past. Still can't hear you, Neil. Well, last year, the Hoskins did come out, and Nick Yankovic came out. I think that was it from Europe, though. But given that it's Worlds, maybe it will draw a few more people from some of the other continents. I certainly hope so, because I'm going to be there. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to meeting some people that I didn't get to meet last year. All right, Neil says in chat that it's just him from UK, at least on the 1E side. So, well, we're certainly excited to have you. Let's not tell him when the Beermeister is taking place. I think he's just moved on to the beer, actually. I think he gave up on the coffee. I see something new in his hand. Jägermeister. Yeah, there we go. All right, well, I think that's going to cover all of our events. And we will hopefully talk more about Worlds as we get closer. But that's it for regionals for this weekend, and next week we will be back at our regularly scheduled day and time, back on Wednesday night. Like I said, we do this every Wednesday night at 11:30 p.m. Eastern. If you would like to be a guest on the show, then send me a PM at OK Coyote on the Trek CC forums. We do still have a couple of shows that still have an open slot that do not have a guest yet. So let me know. Love to have you aboard. Next week, Neil is going to be back with us to talk about his event this weekend. So sorry, can't hear you, Neil, but thank you very much for being on the show, and we're looking forward to talking to you again next week. And he's waving at us. We're also going to have Chris Sons to be back. Oh my God, he's taking his robe off. All right, I think that's it. I think we need to cut. So Neil will be back with us. Chris Sonsteby will be back with us next week. So pretty loaded show. So be sure to join us back on Wednesday night. So thanks to Neil for doing the show. Thanks to Greg as always. For Neil and Greg, I'm Daniel Madison, ending transmission.